So because this is a smaller skirmish game, the maps tend to be smaller for this. Terrain's broken up into two categories. There are major terrain pieces and minor terrain pieces. Examples of, say, a major terrain piece would be buildings, the small shacks which come with the starter set, big vehicles like, say, a bus. Minor terrain features can be things like the benches, say barrel stacks, the map signs, some walls and barricades, basically something that your player could duck down behind if they wanted a small bit of cover. So the rulebook states that for every major terrain piece you can have 2 to 4 minor features, so basically make the place look quite interesting, don't overcrowd it, so at least there's some space for folk to move around on it, but you can have lots of things for folk to hide behind, get into cover and move around. One of the major differences between Fallout Factions and Fallout Wasteland Warfare is for this you create a crew who you carry on with through the entire campaign. Weapons you choose at the start of this are the ones you're going to carry on with through the whole thing, so it's basically what you see is what you get, what's on your model is what you have. So you have a 250 cap limit for this. Your faction is set up, they have to have a leader, and then everybody else is created from the rest of the roster. So you're going to have some champions, most of them are going to be made up of grunts. So I'm going to show you how I put together my pack crew. So this is the leader of the pack. As you can see, he's going to have a 10mm pistol and the Deathclaw gauntlet. Next up, we've got one of the champions. He's equipped with a flamer. And then we've got a psycho here who's got a 10mm pistol and a hand weapon. A scaver who's got the handmade rifle. And finally, this is one of the wasters. He's just one of the grunts. He's got a hand weapon and a pipe revolver. So for every crew, you've got to fill out the roster sheet. So you've got to come up with a name for your crew and which faction they are. So I've got the Dork Dogs, they're in the pack. So you've got to name every member of your crew. I'm just going to do this small 5-person one to start just to show you how you do it. So it's best for each box, put in the name, write what they are underneath so you've got an idea of who you're playing with. So my crew are going to consist of Bork, he's the Alpha, Nacho, he's the guy with the flamer, up next you've got Sprinkles, he's the Scaver, Jeremy Kitchen, he's the Psycho, and finally Count Spotula, he's the Waster. So you need to fill in all of your stats for each character. You can get these from either the rulebook or they do come with the downloadable PDF that you can get for assembling the figures. So just go ahead and fill that out. The different stats are necessary because you need to test against different things for each of them. So up next, I can put in the trait for the leader. So up next, filling out the weapon. This is my leader, so he's got a 10mm pistol, a Deathclaw gauntlet. You fill out the type, the test, any traits, and any critical effects that these have. So with Wasteland Warfare we had measurement rulers which were marked in different colours. For this we just have a standard tape measure or ruler. Movement is up to 8 inches for a standard figure. You can go 8 inches one direction or go say 4-1 and then go for another. A couple of things that interfere with movement here. If you've got an obstacle, if it's under an inch tall, it doesn't count towards your movement distance, so you can go the full 8 inches hopping over something on the way. If you're dropping on of something or climbing up something, however, that does count if it's above the 1 inch. So for example, this guy's dropping down 2 inches, that's fine. You can move a further 6 inches. For this second guy here, because his endurance is lower than the distance he wants to move, he'll just move down that and you can't move any further. It's the whole of his move distance for that. Much like in Wasteland Warfare, your characters have 2 actions. So the first action gets them a weary token. When they go on and complete their second action, you flip this token over so it becomes the exhausted token. Combat. So unlike in Wasteland Warfare where you had a core dice and then you added your bonus dice on top of that to try and help your score or take away armor and stuff, the only dice you use in this are a set of d10s. So in order to decide what you're doing, you have to look at the weapon. It tells you how many dice you're rolling, which category you're testing it against. So for example, the guy here is using a 10mm pistol. The test is 3A, so you're testing against his agility. He has to roll under a 5 for that. To decide how many luck dice you're using, you have to look at the character's luck, so in this case it's 3. So all 3 dice he rolls are going to be the luck dice. So basically, roll your dice. If you get under the score, great. If you're over the score, remove those dice. For every luck dice that's left on the board, you get to roll an additional dice. So basically, once you've done that, you have to check against the harm table. So if it's under their endurance, they only suffer a harm. If it's equal to or greater than their endurance, they suffer 1 harm and an injury. And if it's more than double their endurance, they are actually incapacitated. Most of the grunts only have 1 injury they can sustain, so basically they get hit once, that's them out for the count. So the Psycho here has an endurance of 4, so that means they will suffer 1 harm for this. If another model is within your control area, you can also say that they're doing supporting fire, which means you get additional dice. That is up to a maximum of your character's luck stat. Most folk just have 1. The Alpha here has 3, so he can take up an additional player. The thing you've got to remember though is for every action they do, they also get some fatigue. So might be good, you might end up with absolute rubbish in your rolls. You might be able to totally obliterate somebody, but you've got to remember it's going to cut your team right down and limit your actions. So unlike in Wasteland Warfare where you've say got a chest which you can search, you flip over the token and you might have an item, you might have a danger card, you might have just absolutely nothing. With this you roll a couple of dice, add them both together and you've got the chance of either getting a chem or you can find caps and parts. So if with the chems, they've actually got a list of cap values, so you can choose anything up to the amount that you've got. So from this list I could get Radex, Psycho or Nuka-Cola. If you roll over an 18 you can choose one of the rare items. And so after you've done that you can remove it from play. The only difference is if you roll a 10 on any of the 2 dice you have to replace the search token with a radiation token, which stays in play for the rest of the game. So if anybody comes within 3 inches of that, their endurance is lowered by 1. These radiation tokens also have an accumulative effect, so if say you've got 2 there, the guy at the front there will be lowered by 2, the guy at the back would just be lowered by 1 because he's only within 3 inches of one of those tokens. Something new for Fallout Factions is the Ploy token. So the way this works is at the start of the game you're given Ploy tokens up to the maximum rank of your crew. So when you start off you'll be at rank 1, so you'll get 1 Ploy token for the game. There are 3 standard ploys. They are Teamwork, Second Wind and Lucky Break. Each faction also have some additional ploys that are related directly to them. So for the pack here, we've got Brutality and Pack Hunters. So you can play this at any time during the game, and once it's played, that's it played, you've used it all. Each ploy can only be used once per game, so say you're a tier 3, you can't say do Second Wind twice or 3 times. The only exception to that is Lucky Break, which you can use multiple times. So thank you so much for watching this small Fallout Faction series. I unboxed the starter set, painted up both the operators and the pack, and who can forget that great little bottle and cappy figure I started the series with. So we're back to normal next week with a battle report. Not sure what I'm doing yet. It might be back to Wasteland Warfare. I might actually use the operators in the pack here to do a little one shot. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week.